All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get on board.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
We want to welcome in Marcus Atkinson and Matt Harris. They're from the East Side Renaissance. Gentlemen, welcome. We appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
All righty, so let's start from the beginning. It's a very good place to start. Okay, talk about the origins of the East Side Renaissance.
Well, Matt, I'll let you start. And of course, everybody can hear I sound like Stuffy McStuffins today. So you got to excuse me,
Right.
Matt. I'll let you start.
Well, the East Side Renaissance, we're really excited about the progress we've made thus far.
Well, what is it? What's the
East Side
origin?
Renaissance? The mission vision is three men coming together almost 6 years ago, June actually, this month. Bishop Brock, myself, and Marcus coming together to transform a part of the Erie community that's been just basically neglected and forgotten for decades for whatever reason. And so that involves commercial buildings, residential, the blight, living conditions, secure and safety concerns on the east side and that Parade Street corridor, and just taking a holistic approach to saying, you know what, we can do better. Now, I grew up on the west side, Little Italy area, but as a retired Pennsylvania State Trooper, the people, unfortunately, that I've seen are coming from a different part of town. And so I said, you know what, let's come together, let's do more. I have the Character Be About It program, working with youth and improving behaviors and whatnot. And so all this kind of fit my niche. I'll let Marcus speak for himself.
Right.
But it all just made sense of giving back to a part of Erie where I grew up and believed in, and saying, you know, we can do better.
Yeah, it was a conversation that was bubbling up for all three of us in different ways. And when we started to just kind of cross-pollinate these ideas, we figured out that there was a lot of overlap in terms of what our desires were. And so I go back to my Serve Erie days as I was transitioning out of that. This was something that I was actively talking to people about to kind of run parallel to the efforts of Serve Erie in that area. I said, well, why doesn't somebody step up and handle the commercial corridor, Parade Street? And nobody wanted to take it on. And I would talk to people about the East Erie Turners, and it just felt so big. And I literally would have pitch meetings to people and just say, listen, we can go after grants together. You are on the commercial side, us on the residential side, and nobody bit the bait. And as I saw more and more business people wanting to find a place to call their home, business people of color.
Yes.
It just made sense as I transitioned out of that. I said, you know what? This was on my mind. I'm talking to Matt. Matt was thinking, you know, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Bishop was thinking the same thing. And so we said, why not just bring all of our energy together and see if we can pull this off? And as Matt pointed out, that was, what, six and a half years ago.
June will be 6 years. This month is 6 years.
I want to kind of, maybe this will pinch a little bit, but there was something in the Erie Refocused that said, you know, let's focus on the Bayfronts. Let's stabilize the Bayfront neighborhoods, and we'll worry about the other neighborhoods later. That didn't sit well with the three of you, did it?
It just didn't make sense. I mean, Erie's too big. Why pigeonhole one community, one area, Not saying that that area doesn't need it. It need investment, needs forethought, but the east side just as well. And so if someone was looking to take that on, fine, take it on. But we're going to focus on this part of town because we know the needs there. And we have partners and supporters that believe in that same thought process that we did. And so that made it even more compelling to say, yeah, let's take this on, let's do it this way, and make it work.
And to that point, Joel, I think anybody who knows me knows that righteous indignation is one of the best fuels for my tank. And if something really, sticks in my craw, especially when it involves people that are voiceless, it normally motivates me unlike anything else. And so that's what it was for me. My mother and father got married at 755 East 7th Street at my Aunt Laverne's house. And it is right in that neighborhood. And so I used to run around that neighborhood and play all the time and stay the night with my cousins and the Easter Returners. My cousin Rashid Anderson was murdered at the Easter Returners. And so there's a special place in my heart for that building in terms of wanting to do something positive with it. And I just know a lot of people in that neighborhood, and I understood the soul of the neighborhood. And I thought, well, it's easy to dismiss people that you don't know and that you don't see and you don't interface with every day. Right. And the fact that it was that simple for Erie Refocus was, yes, absolutely a problem for me and for us as a group.
One more thought about all that. And again, with all the conversations we have at these microphones, it is always has been really surprising to me that over generations of city administrations, different folks, different activists, somehow there's been a portion of this city, whether you call it redlining or just ignoring, but it dumbfounds me how we can go, you can't blame it on just Joe Schember. You can't just blame it on the current folks. This has been going on as long as I've been alive and maybe even before that.
Right.
And to your point, I just left a meeting with one of our developers, schematic developers, Boswick Design, and some of the photos that they've seen with the old buildings and things in that Parade Street corridor are just eye-popping. It's just like 1978 photos of trade book and different things right next to bees and whatnot. But to your point, the kicking the can down the road scenario is alive and well, and there's plenty of blame to go around. And so we're not about that. We're not going to blame and point fingers. We said we're, with our resumes and the things that we've done, we just got tunnel vision and said, I can make this successful. I can help you. Marcus with Serve Erie and the things he's done, I can get tunnel vision and make things successful. Bishop, of course, with the things he's doing and is currently and in the past. We said it doesn't matter who's before. Every administration is to blame, because this area and these living conditions, when we went through, Marcus, you know the story, when we went through some of these homes that we acquired, you wouldn't let your dog live in these conditions.
Oh my gosh.
And it was really sad. And that was just the mic drop moment where, okay, guys, this is real. People think this is normal. And we're talking like 6 years ago. And so those things really spurred our interest even more so, in our desire to formulate these relationships and make it happen.
Talk about, you keep on mentioning East Erie Turners. I've been to a couple weddings there years ago. I mean, that's a beautiful place.
It is.
Have you encountered, as you look through some of these buildings, especially commercial buildings, that they have good bones, that there's something to work with there?
Absolutely, 100%. All of these buildings, have good bones. When you go up and down Parade Street, the actual structures are beautiful. They're just antiquated. Yep. Right, and they haven't had any TLC. To your point, all of these years, there've been opportunity to kind of do some development over there and do some improvement, and it hasn't really happened. Thank God for people like Krause's, right? Proud business owners, people like Denny's, and they have carried the banner for multiple years, and just kind of shown us the way in terms of what quality business looks like. But the buildings themselves, excellent condition in terms of the bones, but yeah, they need a lot of TLC, and so, like Matt was saying, as we clear these buildings out, you can just see that, all right, we want to keep the structure, but this thing has to be revamped from the floor up on the inside, not as much on the outside. Right. And it's exciting to bring that old aesthetic back and to kind of restore the soul of the neighborhood in that respect, but to give it a new flavor with some of these new businesses that we're bringing in.
And let me add to that, Marcus. It's kind of interesting, the history. So we're getting into the late 1800s with a lot of these commercial buildings, and early 1900s. And so it's pretty cool to see what was there before, dry cleaners and different things that you wouldn't even think of. And so, to Marcus's point, not to be repetitive, but just they need a lot of TLC because they've been neglected. Yeah. What's happening on State Street? You see the investment here, the Bayfront. They need investment. The bones are solid, but if we continue down that path of waiting, then it's going to just get more costly to renovate them.
I was going to say, so the next obvious question is capital. Is your job mostly figuring out capital stacks when it comes to having a renaissance on the east side?
I don't think that's the job mostly. I think that if you I know you just talked to EDDC, I think that would apply more to an organization like that. And here's where I make the difference. Where Parade is concerned, there was a lot of vision casting. This is the part that people forget. Yeah. Because the conventional wisdom is, why would I put money into this neighborhood? The conventional wisdom is, why would I, give you a large scale grant to renovate this building when we could very easily tear it down and make what we see across the street from us right now, this beautiful new building. And so making the case for the neighborhood, even when you go with your financials, a lot of what we had to put forth were projections, right? So there was a lot of faith involved, and where there's faith involved, somebody has to preach the sermon, if you will, right? And so that's what makes our job a little different than traditional neighborhood organizations. And over time, I think people have been convinced by the results that they've seen, and it's become easier and easier to get financial partners to jump behind us and become a part of the capital stack. But in the beginning, it took a lot of selling and preaching and talking and schmoozing. I think people are just now starting to understand the value of the work and why this area deserves the investment of these other areas.
I used to call Erie the show me city. We wanted, show me a pattern, show me a template where this has worked. Are you operating from templates where you've, again, downtown Erie is, what is it, over the Rhine, Cincinnati. I mean, what have you seen in other communities or templates that you're operating from?
Well, we've done just that. We've taken a trip to Cincinnati and early on and collaborated with the model group, and a lot of the things that they were saying, we had already said. So it was basically taking our ideas and concepts and beliefs and thoughts of how we know Erie and putting it into a document that makes sense, so to speak. And so to that point, every city's got their own, situations, concerns, but Erie's no different than any other city. There's parts of every city, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, that have areas that are just been neglected for decades. And so Erie's small enough, and we think we can continue the relationship capital that we have. It speaks for itself and our tangible work right now, residential, commercial, and that sort of thing.
We've gone on a lot of these tours. As you pointed out, we did Cincinnati, over the Rhine. I've gone on a handful of these tours with Kathy Rosnick when she was here and some of her organizations. And, one of the primary differences that I see is, my favorite question is always, where are you from and what is your connection to this neighborhood that you're serving? And I almost always heard some college student that had no connection to that town, let alone that neighborhood. And I'm like, well, who's connected to the neighborhood? And usually it was somebody that was on an advisory group or some third, fourth, fifth level individual, but never, hardly ever were the founders of these organizations, the engines to these organizations, personally connected to these neighborhoods. There is the biggest difference with the Eastside Renaissance. And so very quickly I'll say, and I've said before, is the reason that it is so easy for the Eastside Renaissance to outwork the average organization when it comes to this type of work is because it is the hill that we are willing to die on. Are you? Or is this just an optional area for you?
Yeah, it's like the Patriots defending Bunker Hill or something.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. Right. Let's start with taking a look at some of the pillars of your work. So let's start with the commercial. And one of the biggest changes is this Erie Bank location. So talk about a little bit of the story of that,
Well, the Erie Bank property is just really a financial and a generational wealth game changer in regard to how you view that corridor. So for that to be the first piece is a game changer in itself, and to have the CEO and president Mike Peduzzi say, hey, this is what I believe in, his relationship with Bishop Brock, that has just been a game changer. I think they're exceeding the accounts that they're expected.
So they're running ahead of
they're running ahead of schedule. I don't know the exact number.
I think that's an important data point to get out there.
Absolutely.
Is that because people are saying, I don't see anybody in that parking lot. I mean, I've heard that. Because you're always going to have the naysayers, right?
Well, and if you look at the parking lot, to your point, there's only 4 spots in the parking lot.
Right.
So, but the walk-up traffic and people coming into there, they're 100 times over their numbers as far as what their expectancy from the February 25th opening to June right now. And I think that's growing. And so those things weren't expected, anticipated. So it's exceeded the expectation, and we're excited about that.
Well, and there's something, it's got a broader mission. The mission is financial literacy, and so working with folks like Erie's Black Wall Street and working with you guys, I mean, we could really move the needle 100%. On things like minority home ownership and 100%. Credits and credit ratings and all that stuff. I mean, that's super important. That drives an economy.
It does, and it's an economy that a lot of people have not necessarily been heavily engaged with. And when you talk about re-entry, people often think of that in terms of the prison industrial complex. And a lot of what we are the advocates for is economic re-entry. And so for some people who haven't been a part of the process, home ownership in particular, this is important, and it is key. And it's really important also it's almost like the 100 Black Men mantra, because I know we'll go into that at some point. What they see is what they'll be. It matters to see us in this position. I mean, we actually own that building. A lot of people don't know that.
I did not.
We actually own that building. And so it isn't something we just advocated for with the owners. And so when we had the grand opening, if you look at the photos, you'll see tons of kids. A lot of the kids that we mentor from the schools that we mentor at, we had them come as a field trip. Tons of kids came from the Eagles Nest. We wanted the kids to see us in this situation so that they could picture it. And when we did our mentoring sessions at Wilson and at Strong Vincent and other places, we debriefed about it. And the kids had a ton of questions in terms of how in the world do you even think about doing something like this? And so it was inspirational, to say the least.
Marcus, again, I've known you for a long time, and we've had conversations about just even an attitudinal adjustment in a can-do attitude, right? Can you express a little bit of that? Because we want to see outcomes in Erie for our African American minority communities, like you saw in Atlanta when you worked there, and so on, and lived there.
And it's one of the reasons that I cling so closely to the Ben Wiley legacy, and so many of us do here in Erie, because he embodied that can-do spirit in the African American community. He's been that beacon of hope and that benchmark, if you will, for African Americans here. And of course, I saw a lot of that in Atlanta. Erie has suffered from that in the African American community. And it hurts to say, but it's the truth. There's this low self-esteem that there's almost an innate feeling of, well, our role is a secondary role, as a third place role. And we don't see ourselves in a leadership position. So even when I talk about ownership, that's the first question that I ask people. When I take my son to the barber and I see the work that he's doing in his barbershop, my first question is, do you own this building? No, you should. Take the extra step. So that there is a level of self-efficacy in our community, so that when there's a need, we aren't saying that you don't do business with the outside world per se, but we should be able to handle X amount of these issues internally as we put this capital stack forward from all of these other sources. So the question always is, what will you do? I go back to Jesus and feeding, the fish and the loaves. People forget the part where he says you feed them. Give me what you have. This is where he started. Give me what you got first, and we'll multiply that. We have to develop that mindset. And watching us has made a lot of people start saying, I need to be on that page, right? And so that is the spirit that we're 100% trying to empower, especially our youth with.
before we go to the bottom of the hour break, I want to ask you about some of the other commercial projects right there on Parade Street. Taste of Love is kitty corner from your location. Talk a little bit about that and some of the other projects there.
Yeah, once again, to Marcus's point, and what our emphasis is, we brought a minority business owner, female, that said, hey, I can do bigger and better than her initial location was down here at the food court.
Which I went through like a lot.
She can cook.
She can cook.
She can cook.
Tasha can cook.
And so we saw her vision, we saw her potential, and we said, you know what? Let's take a chance and let's see if we can help her grow. And so it just feeds into our mission of believing in someone and their business model and saying, okay, you know what? We own the property. Let's go and invest in that. So that's been a success as of a few months ago. So you have the bank, you have the restaurant, we have several residential units where we have tenants that have gone from unsafe living conditions to improved living conditions. And then the meds, one thing that the medical facility that we have coming on board right now, people don't know about that.
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America. And you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
You have been called
to do good,
to feed the hungry,
to love with action,
to be a light in the darkness,
to love your neighbor,
to teach wisdom,
to walk humbly,
to love mercy,
to care for the least of these.
Will you accept the call?
This is our city.
Our mission.
Visit eriecitymission.org/volunteer to accept the call today.
We were talking about commercial, and I want to get into residential and some of the other projects, gentlemen. But, Marcus, you had something to share about that can-do spirit.
Right. Because when Matt talked about A Taste of Love, that was a perfect example of, we've already pointed out the fact that we own the building with the bank. 1108, where our offices are, we own that building as well. And so when Tasha ran into hard times and we told her, listen, we'd love to go into business with you, the building said, well, who owns the building? We do. And the building needs to be improved, and how will that work? We will improve it for you. And so we were the solution to all of her issues, right? And it was something that she wasn't accustomed to, like, wow, like I'm coming to my own village to build this thing around me and to help me succeed. And so that theme you will see permeate everything that we do, the why not me, why not us type attitude. And so we're hoping that that spreads, because we know that there's several businesses, especially on Liberty Street. You had several African-American businesses, all of which launched around the same time and all of which closed down around the same time because the leases were predatory. Well, the leases were interestingly structured. I'll say it like that.
That's politically correct. Huh?
And so they ended up all leaving. But once again, if it was your property, you could have hedged your bets a little bit better. And so that can-do spirit of do it yourself is what is really the narrative that kind of weaves its way through everything that we do.
Talk about the kind of help or assistance or consultation. I mean, like who are some of the players that you are finding? Obviously, Erie Bank has been a good partner. Right. What are some of the other partnerships that Eastside Renaissance is entering into?
Besides the Taste of Love, one that's on the hopper now besides our building, and I'll just go to our building real quick. That's going to be a kind of a radius style building. Marcus and I, we don't know how long we're going to be in the building, but we have space. There's a lot of minority businesses that are looking just for space to come and operate and grow. So
like
business.
A co-working space.
Co-working experience. So 1108 Parade Street is going to be looked at as just that. But then, next to Erie Bank, a couple doors down, we've entered into a partnership with MEDS, a Multicultural Health Evaluation Delivery System, MEDS. And so they are a standalone medical entity that deal with the migrant population as they enter into our country and into the city legally. and come in and get evaluations. There's open Medicare, Medicaid service, mental health assistance. There's going to be a pharmacy. And so that agency is really, over the last, I'd say, several months, we partnered with them to come in and provide a medical area there. And so
what building is that?
This is going to be at 908, 910, and 912 Parade Street, right next to Bees.
Gotcha.
And then
those
Erie
properties
Bank.
between Bees and that little Hispanic church in that same,
We own
those
those-
three
we own those
properties in the middle of ours.
And you own those
three properties, yes.
How was that like to acquire these properties? Because usually you have to have a willing seller. Obviously, you're the willing buyer.
Yeah.
But you know what we saw here at EDDC, not everybody wanted to sell.
No,
right?
that's why we only own those 3 units in the middle of that particular building.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. In terms of our financial partners, a lot of the usual suspects, and I say that respectfully because we appreciate every dime, every penny.
Absolutely.
Erie Community Foundation, Erie Insurance, ECRA has had some skin in the game.
Yeah.
Erie Bank has had some skin in the game. Certainly, GDIC has had some skin in the game.
Yeah.
Special shout out to Martin Farrell and Infinity Resources. Martin Farrell has been one of the unsung heroes of what we're doing at ESR. And when we started early on in terms of building out the prospectus for the commercial real estate, at this scope and scale, it was something that we didn't have a ton of experience in.
Yeah.
And Martin does. And so with that knowledge, his knowledge of employment and everything with owning Infinity Resources, he has just been a partner and a mentor to us in so many ways that I just wanted to make sure that we shouted that out. Absolutely. And he's a friend of our organization that has made a huge difference, and we anticipate will continue to make a difference as we grow.
Do you feel like you have part of your mandate to activate workforce? Again, workforce is something that we talk about here all the time. Yeah. I don't know, again, right now you're a real estate developer, but do you see that activating workforce, getting more people in the game is part of what you guys want to do, or do you have conversations that way?
I'll tee that one up for you, Matt, because we hired, and you can speak more to this because you were the person that spearheaded the hiring. We hired a lot of neighborhood people.
Okay.
In order to do the work, and then I'll let Matt kind of build that out. Yeah. But even the contractors that we've utilized a lot of contractors, some of which are minority and some are just small contractors that are not doing work on these traditional large scale projects like in EDDC or like on the Bayfront.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's the premier contractors that get that work. And some of these smaller players have had an opportunity to not just once or twice, but multiple times come in on some of our commercial and residential. But so there have been a lot of people paying their bills, who haven't traditionally been invited to the table for things like this through the East Side Renaissance.
Yeah, we've been blatant in our approach, just with that diversity component of way back cleaning these buildings out. To talk about 908, 910, 912, we had 5 guys that my father and his trash hauling business, Harris Hauling and Waste Removal, collaborated with us in regard to moving the trash, because when we purchased these buildings, you couldn't even open doors. They were in tough shape.
Bad.
It was bad. And so, but we saw through that and saw past that, and now fast forward to what we're creating. And when you see the renderings of what Boswick has created, it's like, oh my gosh, this is really a game changer. But we've been blatant once again with our workforce and seeing the belief in someone wanting to own their business, start their own business, whether it's landscaping, whether it's demolition, construction. And so, but we're going to continue that model as we continue these projects along Parade Street.
All right, you reference some of the residential projects. I know you have, at least I know one of them is like this beautiful big brick, almost like a mansion on the east side. Talk about some, how do you choose what stays, what needs the investment, and what needs to just go down to the ground, Wow,
interesting, because we haven't done that we haven't raised any of our buildings.
You haven't torn anything down?
Not yet, no.
And so I'm not an expert.
We tore down 926 to build the bank.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. But as far as what we saw as the next step for other properties, none of the buildings that we acquired were taken down. And so, and once again, not being the expert, the engineers coming in and looking and seeing, okay, this is worth this amount of money to keep it, this amount of money to tear it down and renovate. You weigh the cost, you weigh what the capital stack could look like. And so we've been fortunate to where we historically can save most of the buildings and all the buildings to that point. And this MEDS project is one of those, because where it fits and all those buildings are connected, the historical value is there. When you see the renderings of these old photos and renovating that, it's a pretty exciting development.
When you talk residential, are you able, or is some of the thinking taking a big single family and making it multi-unit? Again, we have a housing shortage in Erie. Yeah. I'm trying to pick at some of your thoughts.
It's a mixed bag. We have a property on 6th Street right now that it's a brick structure, and there are families that need bigger housing, more bedrooms. So that specifically will stay a single family unit.
Right. We were going to make it a duplex.
We were going to make it a duplex, but we're like, you know what? We know we have our partnership with the Erie Housing Authority.
Right.
Mike Fraley in the past, and now Dusty Dennis.
Mention them. Thank you.
Can't forget them. They've been great with us.
Yes, they have.
And so they have a need for large families, and so that one structure will remain and being developed this year, continuing this year. But there are other homes that we can create multi-unit homes and that sort of thing. So it just depends on the need.
The two buildings that I think are the best example of from different ends of the spectrum: 701, 703 Parade. Okay. Huge brick building right on the southeast corner of 7th and Parade. Right. Yeah. That one is getting renovated. Good bones once again. No one wanted to see that raised. Everyone wanted to see that renovated. Okay. And we got a grant. What is the grant? $960,000.
$960,000.
Holy smokes!
$960,000. So that will get completely renovated.
6 units in that building.
So that is going to be residential, but multifamily. Wow.
Oh yeah. And then you've got 353 East 11th Street, which is right behind our building, 1108 Parade Street. And that one we purchased it. And upstairs and downstairs, and we thought it was a perfect opportunity to give people quality, a quality living experience. Yeah. And so we gutted both units, inside and the bathrooms, kitchens, tore everything out, new roof, tore the porches out, remade the porches upstairs and downstairs. It passed inspection, but the part that I love to tell is after it passed inspection and we went off to get a grant for the exterior, the inspector from Section 8 said, listen, you guys have already passed. If you want to do the outside, that's fine. You don't have to. Mm-hmm. Well, we've committed ourselves to that. So we went the extra step and got it fully sided outside. That's where the porch is and the siding. Roofing. And we wanted it to look like someplace that they wanted to sit on the porch and grill and be
somewhere
proud.
That we would want to sit.
Right. A privacy fence in the back. KFC is behind. You know, certainly you're not mad at people going to KFC, but you don't want to watch them go through the drive-thru all day. Right. We got them a privacy fence. And so it's a quality living experience. And it was, man, that thing was occupied 2 weeks before it was done, actually.
Yeah.
So in 6 years, what are we talking as far as how large your portfolio is?
Millions of dollars.
So
worth
the
of
investment approximately right now is over $10 million of investment in that corridor. And I'm probably doing it a disservice, probably more than that. And that includes acquisition, renovation, future investment, and I probably don't know about other developers coming in wanting to do other things between 6th and 12th Street.
All right. I would be remiss if we don't ask about the CRIZ. Are you guys in the CRIZ? What does it mean to you?
100%.
We're in the CRIZ, and we've had our initial meeting with the CRIZ board, and the MEDS project and our office projects are on the being considered right now for CRIZ support. Okay. And so those, and we have a couple others hopefully to go back to them also for support also.
And I tell you what, put them on your interview list. Meds, Olivia, it's Olivia's last name.
Yeah.
Hi, Bob.
We can say Meds, it does not do it justice.
Yeah, Olivia.
You should have her on the show and talk to her about Meds, who they serve, what their mission. You will be very impressed with the work that they're already doing.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing about the CRIZ, is that they get their number, the end of October. They've got to spend it by the end of December. Yeah. You guys have shovel ready, not even shovel ready. Like you've got the guys with the hammers sitting at the door waiting for the funding, right?
Joel, can you say that again, Joel?
Yeah, there you go. We got the shovel over our shoulders as we speak.
All that money's got to get spent.
It has to get spent. Yeah. Yeah. And we will happily help them do just that.
Absolutely.
As they say, God is good all the time.
All right, I am down to my last 5-6 minutes with Marcus and Matt, and I want to talk a little bit about the 100 Black Men, and I went to a news conference. Now it's been over a year ago up at the sports park, and I want to know like what that's all about. Where is it at? And again, Mark, as you know from your church work, community is everything, isn't it?
It sure is, and it's been a wonderful ride so far. It's been a lot of learnings. And that's one of the points of going to different conventions. We went to the Atlanta convention last year. This weekend is the convention in New Orleans. And we go to a lot of leadership summits. We attended the summits in Atlanta and D.C. and other places. And it really is key. The work that we're doing right now in places like Deal Elementary on a weekly basis, Strong Vincent, Wilson, East.
What kinds of things are you doing?
Mentoring. We utilized Matt's program, actually, when we became a chapter and they saw that Matt had a character program that was results-driven and had already had outcomes.
Right.
They were like, you guys ought to be using this because you need some sort of foundational programming. He already had it, and he's, lovingly donated that to the use of it to the 100, and so we utilized that. But a lot of great partnerships with the 100. Everybody from Nurturing Hearts. We've got an event coming up the day before Father's Day with Pastor Darrell Cook and several other people, Dr. Baker. And so that is not a 100 event. It's a 100 coming alongside other fathers. Right. We do our Fatherhood Fellowship every month, every third Thursday, where we come together and talk about not just what it means to be a father of color, but a father in general. And these conversations are very open, honest, and raw. And so it's been a wonderful run. We're still building it. We're still learning things, but it has been the right move for us and for our city.
Is there an event where a dad could come, whoever they are?
Absolutely.
What is it? Like, what would be something coming up here?
Well, the event for the day before Father's Day is going to be, we moved the time. I want to say it's going to be at noon. I'll send you the flyer.
Yes.
At Second Baptist Church.
Okay.
And we moved the time because it actually conflicted with another organization that was doing an event. I can give you the date right now. And so we wanted to make sure that we were in harmony. And so that's going to be June 14th, 1 to 4:30.
Okay.
Dr. Baker will be the keynote speaker. I'll do a breakout session at that. Brandon Wiley will do a breakout session at that. And then Ashton Jones, who is the new manager at Erie Bank over here on 10th and Parade, he will do a breakout session. And so that's something that any and every father can come to. You don't have to be Black. You don't have to be a member of any particular organization.
Right.
If you care about fathers and you want to pour into these fathers and be poured into, it's a good opportunity for you.
I tell you, boys, gentlemen, this makes me emotional because that may be one of the toughest things we've got in our city and in our country, in our culture, is fathers. Whether they're going to be on it or not. Yeah. And I'm a granddad of 4 with 1 on the way.
God bless you.
And my children bring me joy every day. My grandchildren bring me joy every day. But not every person that births a child can say that, can experience. They're not even in their kids' lives.
Yeah.
And let me go to the point. That's a great point, real quick. That the Eastside Renaissance, what you see kids, it's all about the youth and living this corridor and this development, living past us, is having Black and brown kids, and all kids for that matter, walk up and down Parade Street and say, I can go to a bank, a restaurant, a medical facility, have safe, clean, affordable housing, have a grocery store, have all these things right here in my community. And I can have development happen, same thing on State and the west side of Erie, I can have it here. So the optics of what we're doing, it goes back to the youth. It's not about us. It's about living past us and our generation saying, hey, things are happening here, leaving an impression that I can do good and I can be great also. And so that's the real focus of the Eastside Renaissance, is the youth coming up and seeing.
And I'll tell you something, Joel. I've been mentoring this young man named Kimani Farmer since he was in 3rd grade. At the time, I was with the YMCA Kids Club. He was in my theater program.
Oh my goodness!
Then he came along as was a part of my YMCA Teen Center program. And the long and short of it is, he is now the youngest member of this chapter of 100 Black Men. And I just went to the young man's wedding a couple of months ago.
Oh my word!
He's got a master's degree from Slippery Rock. He's a part of Alpha Phi Alpha. He is a full-blown grown man. But this is what we talk about in the 100, mentoring across a lifetime. Right. And so not just the elementary school kid, when that kid is in junior high, here I am. High school, I'm with you. College or work or what have you. Jail, unfortunately, if it goes that direction. Wherever it goes, here we are. Let's see if we can help you make things straight and just do something productive with your lives. But it's that lifelong commitment that we are very proud of.
And I would say, as a baby boomer, I would say, open your heart to learn from the younger folks because they're gonna teach you things.
Yeah.
They're gonna teach you about love and just an embrace of, just. Our hearts need to be larger.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to get all cushy or whatever, but because we talk a lot about economic development and where our economy's going, where our kids are going. But it's about people.
There you go.
And we can all learn something. I don't care if you're 60, you're 70,
That's
you're
right.
80. You're still learning. We're lifelong learners.
That's right.
All right, I got to put a bow on this. So, Eastside Renaissance. If folks want to find out more, go to the website.
Yeah, eastsiderenaissance.org.
Okay.
You can go to the website, contact us if you want to help, if you want to give, whatever the situation is, you can do that. 100 Black Men, it's 100 Black Men of Erie, PA.org as well. And same situation, if you can contact us if you want to give, you can get in touch with our treasurer, our vice president of accounting, James Sherrod, over at the King Center, and he can help you out. And there have been multiple people that have taken us up on that. And so bottom line is, if you just want to see the work, especially with the Eastside Renaissance, contact us, and we will gladly give you a tour.
We'll be a part of Erie Gives.
Erie Gives.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll hear from our executive director, Paul Hamilton, on that as well.
Yeah, I've enjoyed several conversations with Paul, and we'll keep up with him. And I think it's amazing to see that. You know what? Consultants all the time are generally on spot, but this time it wasn't on spot.
Yeah.
I feel like this investment needed to happen, and we didn't need another red line moment,
right?
With our strategic plan,
right?
And we're excited to see the things that are going on Parade Street. Marcus Atkinson, Matt Harris, thank you, gentlemen, so much. Appreciate it very much for you being a part of the show here.
Thanks for having us.
You got it.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.